Good evening and welcome, friends. I, Nathan, welcome you to the virtual learning platform of Vivekananda Global University. For last 100 days, on the campaign which we are running, No Lockdown in Education, we have hosted 200 plus lustrous thought leaders on this platform, all with a single point motive, learning from the leaders themselves. Today, in this very special CEO Etalk series, we have indeed a very special guest too. Now, why special? The guest for the day is amongst one of the youngest CEOs in the country of one of the most reputed world famous brands. We have with us for the e-talk today Mr. Ashok Ramachandran, who is the president and CEO at Schindler India and Southeast Asia. May we all please welcome together Mr. Ashok Ramachandran.
Thank you, Nathan.
Hello and welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to all the viewers hearing and listening to us this next hour. And I do apologize for the rescheduling that was from my side. And I thank the audience for accommodating and enjoying this next hour, hopefully.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for making time and being amongst these students and sharing some optimism and positivity, which is indeed needed for the generation next in these little tough times, which we're all going through. To begin with, sir, as I've just shared with my audiences, that you're amongst one of the youngest CEOs in the country of one of the most reputed brands in the world. CEO at 40. That's much of a designation to hold on, I'm sure. What's next? Does life, saturate here, or do you think the aspirations flying ahead?
A very good question. And whilst I would like to say that I'm very clear with my answer, the honest fact is I am not so clear. But at the same time, I want to talk a little bit about, before I answer the question, a little bit about the challenges of reaching a position like this at a younger age. What happens is usually people who attain CEO roles are mostly at about 50 plus, 50 to 60. So they have usually kids who are either in high school or in college, early college. So it is usually not so difficult for them, to manage the family. But having been a young CEO, I have always had this problem of having a very young family and a very fast growing career. And that has always been challenging, because when you when you start getting promoted to senior positions, your family needs more of your time, and you want to give the time, but you feel very, and this is something, a lot of people make a mistake, is they feel that CEOs have to work long hours, till 10 o'clock and work 15-hour days and 18-hour days and stuff. I can tell everyone that I am not someone who works so long every day. Number one, I always go back home by 6 o'clock so that I can be with my family. So what next? I think the advantage of having these roles early and the fact that I have another whole career ahead of me, I have another 20 years or 15 years ahead of me. That's like a job in an organization for many people, right? I feel that this is going to give me the opportunity to start looking at what can I do good for the greater people around me. And this is something I've always, kind of done in my life. I was listening to Indra Nui today, and she said one of the things that she's very proud of is she created 9 CEOs in US out in her tenure, and that is something that I have always been kind of doing, ever since my Vietnam days, Malaysia days, and now India. In fact, just 2 days ago, one of our management team members got poached as a CEO for another company, not a competitor, but another company. And one of the reasons he told me, he said, Ashok, you're creating CEOs in Schindler. I don't think you realize that. So that is my dream is, from an India perspective, really help the students become more work ready, because I feel that students have the knowledge of the books, but not necessarily all the skills required to be successful in corporate world. So my life beyond 40 and above would be to see how do I use my influencing power to make the students even more work ready.
Right. That's a very beautiful that's a very beautiful thought, sir, you have shared, and it's very inspiring, and that's what we have seen, in fact, happening in the history. that once you attain something, once you're at a level, then mentorship becomes the next step. And how beautifully have you said that now, creating CEOs, creating the likewise leaders, or the, I mean, creating strong teams would probably be the step ahead from the journey here. Uh, Taking the conversation ahead, and you've also talked about that, you are much keen to give back something to the society, specifically in terms of students as well. We would take that side as well in the conversation as we prolong further. Firstly, taking a little anecdote from whatever I've read about you in the in the articles or the videos that I've came across. So you've done your engineering, but then typically you never wanted to be an engineer. In that's what you've said in a lot of videos of yours, and that's not too rare as well. I mean, in a country like India, where we are producing like millions of engineers every year, this is almost a story with 50% of them. But now, when you've reached this level today, being a proud, I mean, a high-ranked officer of a reputed brand in the world, do you think that engineering, those 4 years of your life, have helped you somehow in the longer run of life and career?
Okay. When I was studying in school, I think I had mentioned in one of my videos that I failed in chemistry. That was my first kind of proper failure in life. When I failed in chemistry, and physics was barely passing. And I still remember my physics teacher calling my parents and saying, "Your son has no hope in life. He's not going to do well at all." I was actually searching for the teacher. Now somehow I'm not able to find her yet. I really hope I can find her and stand in front of her. But jokes apart, science was not a subject that was coming to me, and I had no pressure from parents to study engineering. It was my own pressure to go and study engineering. I would not say that I joined engineering without liking it. I was wanting to study engineering. Why? Because all my friends were studying engineering. There was no other reason. But after the first year, I did well. I had no problems with first year. Third semester, I failed three subjects. And then every semester, I was having 3 bags, 4 bags. Thankfully, I finished in 5. The fifth semester, I finished. 4 years, I finished engineering, and fifth semester, I finished all my subjects which I had bags. And then I didn't fail after that. I have to say sheer luck. I did not think anything went into my head. I don't have any, I don't repent studying the 4 years at that point of time. So let me tell you that if I was born like now, if I'm 18 years now in the year 2020, I probably wouldn't have studied engineering. That's a different story. But when I was graduating, the options were not so high, and my exposure wasn't so good as well. But what engineering taught me is being organized, the conceptual thinking, the analytical thinking, all that came from the 4 year engineering course. But more than that, it's actually the network you create with your friends, what you learn from the interactions, the fights, the arguments. So definitely, I don't repent the 4 years of engineering, um, and it has made me, I think, helped me grow as well. I have to say one more advantage was now being in an engineering company. At least I can say I'm an engineer. So that is also something that came as an advantage. But the multiple failures during the 4 years, which made me feel that I'm worthless, actually made me work more differently to succeed in life. So students who are listening to me, who may be probably failing in subjects and thinking that my life is gone, I can tell them that you have a real example in front of you. I don't think marks and degrees and even pedigree. In India, we have an obsession towards IIM, IITs, and BITS Pilanis and stuff. I don't think the pedigree also matters so much. If you want to succeed, you can still succeed. It is really all in your hands.
Right. A lot lies in the hands of these students by themselves, and you're talking about failures and learning from the failures, as they say that failure is probably the first step towards learning. When you realize that you're nothingness, and that's when you eventually start to evolve. So
Yeah.
this is of course something again to be discussed ahead. But as today we talk about engineering, the first step, the first elevator to success, I would like to discuss a little more on this front, sir. Uh, engineering back then, when when you graduated and from an engineering college, of course, was one of the curriculum which had the utmost rage, was one of the first picked curriculum, was one of the first prior choices of anyone who's graduating from math sciences of any, high school. In the current times, the momentum, though we are ourselves one of the leading engineering institutions across in the state and in the country as well, but the momentum somehow have gone a little slow. Why do you think, from the industry perspective, what had been the reason behind all of this, and how can we all together, instill and reinstate that faith back in the curriculum? Because of course, it is still one of the most finest, and as you have said that being an engineer help you being in an engineering organization, and it very much help you to organize yourself and conceptualize yourself. So a little light on this.
Sure. So I'll give you an example that I had heard in Australia when I was working in Australia. I was talking to the head of a leading five-star hotel business chain in Australia. So they have, I think, one of the Marriott's or the Hilton chains. And I was talking to a very senior person from there, and he told me that they wanted to recruit some electricians and plumbers, and they came to India. They interviewed a lot of people who are all double degree engineers. And he said out of 500 people they interviewed, they could barely get 10 people who could actually do plumbing and electrician work. The salaries are very, very high in Australia for these roles. You would probably get about $100,000 or even $200,000. But he said that none of the engineers had any hands on experience from India. And that, I think, is a fundamental issue. The reason why engineering has lost its glamour, if you think about it, whatever engineering you study, even if you're studying chemical, mechanical, electrical, civil, people still end up joining Infosys or TCS or IT company in testing or software. I mean, that is the problem. We don't have engineering jobs. And secondly, the engineering jobs that are available are not very highly paid. So people don't feel very glamorous to join those kind of, opportunities and stuff. And the 4 years, I'm not sure how it is now, Nitin, but at least during my time, it was more theoretical. It was not so practical. I hope that it has improved, but if it has not, then I would definitely advise that the subjects become more practical. I still remember, my what I see those days is, and compared to what is required now. For example, in organizations, we use a lot of PowerPoints and Excel to do analysis and presentations. Now, colleges those days never used to teach how to use Excel training, PowerPoint training was not there. We had a presentation once a year. I think that has changed, the PowerPoint part, where I think students are doing more presentations. But how much of practical knowledge the students are getting in every subject and how can they make it more hands-on? That's what is important.
Right, of course.
We
The
have to make it
practical,
more and more practical.
right, of course. Engineering by itself is very practical, and the whole concept of engineering is very practically driven. Just not just within the books, but of course the implementation of the concepts that's being read between the books is being practically implemented and being practiced in the laboratories. That's what the entire concept of engineering is all about. Things are evolving, things are becoming better. Of course, there are challenges, but I'm sure things will sail off smooth, and engineering is again, in fact, starting to find its new dimension in the coming future, and I'm sure the future is brighter in the coming times. So as we just talked about failures, and then when I reconnected to engineering, uh, your life journey had been, I mean, I'm sure, very, very interesting in a very limited span of time, probably a decade and a half, and then but reaching out to this position, being one of the most senior leaders in such a in such young age, and then in the early ages you had your chances of tasting out the failures as well. They say, stories are the best way to communicate. So herein, if from this interesting journey of 1.5 decade, any most inspiring, most connecting anecdote if you want to share across to the audiences to best make them understand that how life can change out of few instances, if you would
Sure.
love.
So, one of the things I would like to share is, as an overseas student, a lot of people who go overseas to studies, this could be common story for them. But maybe for students in India, it is not so common. But when I was a student in Australia, in order to meet my living expenses, I had to do a lot of odd jobs, whether it was washing dishes, whether it was washing cars, whether it was bartending, picking up garbage. I've done all these kind of works. And I want to tell the students that whilst these jobs may seem very menial and low, but these are the jobs that made me really who I am today. It made me stronger as a person, taught me what is life, and gave me the strength to face the challenges that later on I get in life. So I would strongly advise the students that during holidays, during weekends, during evenings, if they can do some kind of a job, it will really help them to, to learn life a lot more. Number one. Number two, the story that comes to my mind is, so when I joined Schindler Australia, first job was Schindler Australia, in fact. And 6 months into my job, one morning, I was having a coffee in the coffee shop that was just outside the office gate. And I still remember our company managing director at 7:30 in the morning. He came out of the office. We start work early in Australia, around 7:30 we start office. So I was standing and having a coffee. My managing director came out running and he said, Ashok, do you have a car? And I said, yes, I have a car, but it's a second-hand car. I was a student 6 months ago. So I just had a second-hand car, an old Volvo car. And I said, I just have an old car. He said, that's okay. And he said, can we drive to the airport? I said, sure, why not? So he jumped into the airport. He said, we need to pick up somebody and I'll tell you on the way. So we jumped into the car, we drove, and he said, we're going to pick up the director of the Asia Pacific region of our company, Asia Pacific director. And when you come back driving with him, he will sit next to you and I give you 15 minutes, which is a driving time, alone with him. I will sit in the back. So what you talk to him is up to you, but this is an opportunity for you in your life. That's all. So we went there, picked him up. I spoke to him on the way. I dropped him back, and then the days went by, years went by. So 5 years later, 6 years later, I was offered the role for managing director of Vietnam. And I was told that since it's a Asia Pacific under Asia Pacific role and it's a managing director's role, the managing director of Asia Pacific has to interview me as well. And that is the same gentleman who I had picked up 6 years ago. Now he was informed by his office that he has to interview me, and he sent a reply back to my managing director that I remember Ashok, who I had picked up 6 years ago. I think the guy can do the job. Please proceed. And that was quite a shock for me, and I was quite amazed. The 15 minutes of discussion I had with him had made an impact, such a strong impact that he remembered it even years later and gave me the job without even interviewing me. So a lot of people curiously ask me, what did you speak to him during those 15 minutes? To be honest, I don't remember so much the content, but I remember what impressed him was the spirit, the passion, the energy, the drive that remained in his mind forever. And that's what I would like to share to the students, that you will have such opportunities in your life. You will not have time to prepare, but you have to perform in action immediately. Show your passion, energy, and your drive, and people will embrace it and people will remember it. These are two incidents, Nitin, that I remember, which kind of shaped me becoming a better person and gave me a better career as well.
Right. So, Right. I mean, just what you've said here, that it's actually about the energy, the aura you create for yourself, and that's really being always remembered by people around in this current times. Where networking is one of the strong skills. But when you connect with people, the energy, the enthusiasm, the spirit, that really makes a lot of difference, and that is what we talk about. The unconventional way of speaking, the immovable, or speaking without words. So creating an impact to everyone you meet, networking, focusing on networking with the entire concept of the optimism, that is really, really important. And students must learn this skill in the current times, because that is indeed very, very important. Just a simple degree is not enough to get you alongside where you want to reach out. uh, Talking things ahead, we have just talked about that. I mean, those 15 minutes made a lot of difference, and what had existed in 10 years back from there is actually visible today as well. I mean, maybe I mean, if I read between the sheets, you even look a little I mean, more younger to what your age actually speaks about in the profile I've read on. So talking about this energy, this optimism, this positivity, do you think that this contributes to great leadership? The simplest way I want to you to make understand everyone here is the major difference between the great leaders and the good leaders. Leadership have always, right, right.
You know, there is leaders and there's managers. And I'll tell a lot of people that you don't manage people, you lead people. You only manage inventory, you only manage non living things, you don't manage living things. So, for me, the most important trait for a leader at any level, doesn't matter you're a middle manager, you're a senior manager, or you're a CXO, you're a board level, you're a chairman, the first and most important thing remains humility, being humble, being down to earth. And there is a very recently, just last week, I was attending a talk with a Harvard fellow, a gentleman called Rahul. I want to read out, I had made a note of it, in fact, and I found it very interesting. This could be useful for this session as well. He talks about a word called drum major instinct. Drum major instinct is what Martin Luther King in his famous speech in US had used. There are a lot of people who have this characteristics called drum major instinct. What is drum major instinct? Drum major instinct is a desire to be in the front, to always be the face, to always have the limelight, like movie stars, models. A lot of leaders have this drum major instinct. They want to be the cover of everything. They want to be the face of everything, which leads to arrogance and overconfidence. So I would say great leaders have, first of all, a very good sense of self awareness. They are aware of themselves. They have humility. They're very down to earth. They're accessible. Third one is they receive and give feedback regularly. I'm not sure how many leaders, Nitin, you have worked with in your life who actually come and ask you, Nitin, tell me, what do you want me to improve? What do you think I should do even better? You don't find it very commonly. It's very rare. And that, I think, defines a great leader's quality. When you see great leaders, you see humility, you see a sense of taking feedback, you see they have a bigger purpose. It's not just about themselves. It's not about making themselves become even good and even better, getting promoted and things like that. Great leaders have always a thought of how do I help everybody else? That is what I think is the difference. Hope this answered your question.
Absolutely. I mean, and I would also love to share this with you that the organization which is hosting this very webinar episode, the CEO of the organization Vivekananda Global University, Engineer Mr. Omkar Bagaria, he is also one of the same kind of leaders we are talking about: accessible, involved, self-aware, and of course always wanting to develop and evolve things through feedback. And sense of involvement and accessibility is of course the key factors, as you've also talked about the true leadership. uh, Talking of leadership, 15 years of a journey with Chandler is somehow, I mean, just being there and the sense of loyalty. Does that also contributes to being I mean, a good leadership? Does that also contribute?
You know, being in Schindler for 15 years, I would say that, if I look at my age group, my friends who are studying with me in college and school, everybody has changed at least 4 or 5 jobs by now. And I have been in the same company for so long. Now, I think the reason for that is, though I have been in the same company for 14 years, 15 years, but I've never done the same role all this time. I've changed, as you know, about 5 roles in 4 different countries. And loyalty, I think, works both ways in today's generation. If the company gives you the growth and the career path, then employees definitely will be loyal. And if you are loyal, the company gives you growth and career path. So it works both ways. It's like a chicken and egg story. What comes first? I'm not sure. I think both has to go together. You work harder, you're loyal, you get promotion. Then you work harder, you're loyal, you get promotion. So I would say, Nitin, I wouldn't particularly say that loyalty just to do the same role in the same company is great leadership, but loyalty to whatever you're doing is important, like integrity. I relate loyalty to integrity. I often tell people that when you are climbing the mountain of leadership, there are 2 barriers. One is an integrity barrier, one is a safety barrier. If you break these, you fall down. You can't come back. You're dead. Last year alone, 24 global CEOs were sacked for misconduct, integrity issues, for swindling money, wrong reporting of financials, sexual misconduct. 3 major reasons. So if you talk about loyalty, not just from a tenure, but also integrity perspective, I would say it's an extremely important skill to be a very successful leader. And in my role, I have been tested for loyalty many times, both from a tenure perspective and from a integrity perspective. In all my previous roles, I have been tempted with crores of money, crores of money to take as bribe. I could have very easily done it, without people finding out. But the upbringing that my parents gave never even made me think, should I take it? For me, that is a loyalty towards the company's core values, ethics. And if I talk about opportunities, I get job opportunities all the time, but I don't even talk to them. And I don't even tell my company that I got a job offer, because that also shows that I'm trying to show off to the company that, see, hey, I'm so good. People are offering me jobs. So I think it works very, very important. Loyalty, integrity.
Indeed, principles and ethics will always stick with you, and that's what takes you to greater heights in life. So, of course, to run through the ladder of success, integrity, loyalty, this all comes as a package, and one must always keep the core values with themselves. Drifting the conversation ahead, though, because we are also talking here, on the student side, that what is there for an engineer in the current situations. So from a leader's perspective, from a global organization perspective, there's indeed a recession to follow this unprecedented situation, this pandemic, which every business had been hard at, and situations are really upside down. The businesses are for tossed for their money in in the current situation when there is a recession to follow. There are a lot of students who are graduating. They have been long awaiting for this movement, and absolutely the entire last 2 decades of their life have been for this very movement. They have been in their high schools and then graduated out of any of the leading technical schools, and now was the time when they were wanting to make a leap into their career, wanted to restart a new life altogether. There's a little level of despair as well, that if things are not working out for me currently, is it going to work out in the near future, or is it going to take a long time from here? So to all these uncertain queries of these students, what's your single point for them to take as a reference, that how things will restructure? Of course, economic restructuring is going to take time, but what message do you want to give them, and how should they be balancing themselves, and of course utilizing the current times for upskilling as well?
You know, this is a once in a lifetime kind of event. Nobody can have control over it. I hope everybody is safe during these times with their families and stuff. And I want to just share a small parallel. In 2002, I graduated from engineering. 2001, September 11. I'm sure everybody, some of you at least may remember, or everybody may recall. September 11 was a twin tower bombings by Al Qaeda. And after that, the whole world went through a turmoil. Especially the Americans had stopped visa for Indians and Pakistanis. And I was also one of the students who got caught in this. I couldn't go to US for my higher studies. And then later on, I lost about 2 years and then I went to Australia. So I have seen times when there was no jobs available during those times. Now, a lot of students graduating next year are going to be facing this problem as well. What I want to tell everybody is, as it is, we have a lot of students graduating. As it is, you have intense competition. So you have to really stand out. You have to be really different. You have to really chase obscene success. You have to do something different. So don't take your time as a very easy thing. Don't take your time as given. Try to get more practical exposure. So doing a lot of internship is a very good opportunity with various companies. Try and do those internships very seriously, not for a fun of it. Get good company internships. Of course, many companies may not be able to give you internship stipends, but do it for free. It's okay. You're learning something. Overall, be patient. Maybe you may not get jobs easily, but don't worry about it. Maybe you will lose 6 months or 1 year. Doesn't matter. I lost 2 years. I thought I lost 2 years, but look at me today. I've gained maybe 10, 15 years in my life. So don't get bogged down and bothered by relatives, by family, friends. People will come and say कि अरे गुप्ता जी के बेटे को जॉब मिल गया, पिताजी की बेटी को जॉब मिल गया. This is what will happen every day. Chacha's son will get a job. Somebody else in the family, बाजू वाले के घर के पास, whatever, these things will happen. People will compare you always. You have to tell your parents that, Daddy, Mama, please trust me. I'm going to find the job. And you need to believe in yourself. But improve your networking skills, communication skills. Try and be practically useful. I've seen, for example, students in LinkedIn, they come and message me, hi, and there's no message. Hello. They think they're going to chat with me, but I'm not going to chat with people in LinkedIn. If you want something, you should clearly send a message. Dear Mr. Ashok, my name is Prashant. I'm looking at A, B, C, D, E. This is what I want to do. This is what I can offer. Always try to say what you can offer. Not the motherhood statements ki I'm very hardworking, I'm very focused, I'm determined. We have heard all this 1,000 times. Specifically, can you do something? You can say, I am looking for a internship at no cost for Schindler. I want to really look at, I noticed from your internet website that you are working on new technologies. I would like to contribute my knowledge in digitalization, in bringing some ideas to penetrate market share for Schindler, etc., etc. You see how I said this? It's very specific. It's very useful for me. So I'm interested then to talk to you. So be very clever and be smart. Be visible. But more than anything else, be patient. Don't worry. You may get delay in finding a job, but it will happen. That's what I can say.
Right, have faith and of course, brush up your communication and networking skills. And what a suggestion have you given out to these students here? This is definitely a template to keep a note of that. Reach out with the purpose. Of course, tell that what do you have to offer. That's indeed something for these students to take a note of. That whenever they are reaching out, they must be very specific about what they're expecting and of course what they can offer. Maybe if they are reaching out for internship or for that employment matter as well, they should be very very specific. And networking in the current times may really really pay off. It's just that if you're very specific and you're very crystal clear with your approach. uh, Internship is what we are just talking about. That internship would definitely be the first step towards employment in the current future, because of course internship can help in the concept of gig working. Internship could be could be it's a mutually benefiting idea for both the ends, of course for the user and for the giver as well. Because for the organization perspective, if I look at a promising candidate to work for, some extended hours of working, and of course less of the payables. For the student perspective, it's a nation offer and then a PPO to follow, and of course the energy part is also at the extreme of it. Do you see
Correct.
internship emerging as the new concept of employment post this pandemic for the employment? Do you
I
see that
do.
happening? Okay,
I do.
right, great.
Yesterday I saw a post on LinkedIn. Somebody had mentioned that a lot of companies are now using interns as a free labor, and they are making them do some, dirty work like just doing typing and stuff like that. Of course, there's always bad interns, bad companies. That will always be there. So when you are entering an internship, I would suggest, first of all, offer yourself for no cost. That will definitely help. But at the same time, ask the companies what is the internship that you are going to be involved, what is the knowledge that you can gain. That is important because that is the experience that you're gaining. So we in Schindler, during the pandemic, we still honored our interns. We took about 20 interns during this time. Every intern was given a specific 2-month project. Every intern had a mentor, had a sponsor, and all the interns were given the opportunity to present their project to the management team. And we selected one intern to get the CEO's award, which was a cash prize, a lucrative cash prize. And three of the interns were even given pre-placement offers. So these are the kind of things that we have done in Schindler, and many companies are doing this. We even did a proper onboarding of the interns, gave them a good induction so they understand the elevator industry. So I think, Nitin, definitely internship will become the mantra of the future,
Right,
at least till the economy improves and proper job starts rolling out.
right. And of course in the internship, learning is more important. What you're doing is more important, of course.
Correct.
More than what is being offered. In terms of the compensation part, the learning and the work you're doing is more important, and that's what students should also be more keen about, to know that what their role would be in the internship they're opting out for. Uh, in the future, because of course we have just talked about that the things are going to take time to get restructured. Any specific areas you want to make students a note of, that they should be targeting these set of industries or these set of businesses, because they will be having the more potential to accommodate the newcomers even in the time ahead, the tough times. Any note in that? Do you want these students to be handy upon that they can try and reach out to these kind of organizations, which will be having more space to hire the newbies?
Sure. So, Nitin, what I forecast, first of all, I think that India will have an economic impact of about 12 to 18 months before we see recovery happening. Number one. Number two is jobs will always be available. The numbers will be lower, But for good people, there will always be jobs. Say, for example, as I told you, we gave pre-placement offers to 3 interns out of 20. So 3 of them got jobs. They were fresh graduates. They will be getting the jobs. The third thing is the industries that are obviously going to be doing well and which are doing well now is healthcare, pharma, e-commerce, rural industries like tractor sales, fertilizer, those kind of companies, ed tech like Upgrad, Byju's. Of course, they are doing very well. Online education, and then this will be the first set of industries that's going to do well. Then you probably see the recovery of real estate, manufacturing, and those kind of things. Then will be luxury companies, luxury goods, high-end cars, cosmetics, and stuff like that. So any essential will go first, and then one by one things will come coming back. But at the same time, every company will take good people. There's always opportunities for good, talented, high quality, high profile people. That's for sure.
Again, that comes as a silver lining, that there would not be a board saying that there are no jobs. Of course, the availability is going to be a little low, of course, because there is definitely a tough times ahead which lies. But then for good people, jobs will exist, and no such thing called unemployment, as that had always been the case. I mean, for people who are skilled, and people who actually have it in themselves, there is no dearth of employment opportunities in the market. Talking of people who have it, I would also want you to make students more clear on this prospect, that what are the future must have skills, and what is this entire thing, because I've really recently been hearing this a lot, that entrepreneurial skills are going to be one of the key skills these students must be embedded within their the days of graduation. The interdisciplinary learning approach should be made mandatory, and then all these things have been becoming very much fancy and trending. So any highlight on this, that what are the future must have skills, and what these entrepreneurial skill would basically be, which will be landing them on a safe space in the future?
I think within the kind of skills that will remain um, always important for students, agility, very, very important. Being adaptable. Agility is nothing but, when you're entering organizations, things are not certain. They may give you a job profile for sales. Now, when you enter, maybe after 2 months, you suddenly realize that there's not much happening in sales. Now, if you are an agile person, if you see opportunity in manufacturing or in purchasing or in HR or whatever it is, put your hand up and say you want to help. Be agile. Don't be stuck to your job profile and say, Ki, I will only do this. That's going to be a problem. Second thing I would say is when you talk about entrepreneurial skills, it actually combines to agility. So, entrepreneurial skills is, for example, if you are owning your own coffee shop, and if you see a school next to the coffee shop, then you can sell some small samosas which the students will want to buy
Right.
because you're entrepreneurial. Similarly, if students can see the opportunities in organizations, then they will know how to tap into them. They will not be waiting for their boss. During this pandemic, in many companies, lot of middle managers have shown more promise than senior managers. Imagine some companies are even manufacturing sanitizers and masks, which they've never done in their life before.
Right. True.
That is entrepreneurial. So being agile, taking regular feedback, having a great communication skill, being confident, being bold, taking risk, all these will be skill that will be forever important for students.
Of course. Being there, taking risk, and of course, being street smart. These are, of course, going to
Correct.
be the key skills, right? Of course, the key skills that can help them sail through the upcoming times ahead. Ashok sir, it had been absolutely a wonderful, wonderful set of conversation, and the inputs, I'm sure, must have been the great takeaways for all these students, viewers out there. Last words from your side that this is what they should be taking along with them in this 45 minutes that they have spared with us, and then we'll move towards the last phase when I'll request the president of the university who's there with us in the conversation to wind off, and of course to chip in and to contribute from his side, please.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. I think it was a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully the audience got some inputs and positive aspects from what I said. Let me say that these are extremely difficult times which you're reading everywhere. But I can also tell you one fascinating thing happening right now. Nobody gets an opportunity to learn from leading a crisis. Even if you go to Stanford, Harvard, and MIT and you do an MBA, nobody can teach you leading a crisis more than what you can do really in life right now. Today, I'm leading a crisis. This is a real life MBA. This you will never get back in your life. If you waste this crisis, you are an idiot. You are an absolute idiot if you don't know how to turn this crisis into an opportunity. So try to prove yourself that you are amazing. Try to prove yourself that you can, during a crisis, become even better, learn new things, become bigger, stronger, fitter. Before lockdown, I was 85 kilos. Now I'm 74 kilos. I took it upon myself to become fitter. I've read 6 books in the 3 months. So don't waste your time just watching Netflix and YouTube. And many of the college students, their only aspiration is to find a campus interview job which will have the highest pay package and a big brand name. That's it. They don't realize what is the culture of that company, what is their role, where is their role. Everybody wants a very comfortable job in a comfortable location. I have students coming and saying, "Sir, मुझे Bangalore में ही job चाहिए, Pune में ही job चाहिए." I'm like, wherever you get a job, just go there. And don't run behind salary when you are starting off in your life. Things will come later. When I joined Schindler, I did not look at my salary for the first 5 years because I had to build a brand first. So build your brand. What is your brand today? What do people talk about you? That is your brand. Build your brand. Win the crisis. Lead the crisis. Don't manage the crisis. Which means you follow what you want people to follow. So you become the leader and people follow you.
Right.
So that 12 months later, you're proud of yourself.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Of course, it's right. It's about making the best of yourself and making yourself proud, and the moment you start feeling that the story is entirely different, and as you have said that create a mark, and with crisis comes the bigger opportunities as well. Try and figure out, and of course the way is all yours. What a wonderful conversation it had been for all these students out there, and to all the viewers. I also want to definitely make a note to all of the words we have talked about in the entire conversation. May it be from humility, may it be from leading from the head, and agility. All these words absolutely best describe Mr. Ashok Ramachandran, sir. To whatever and I mean the understanding I have with the last interactions with sir, it had always and always been around these words, and I can very well connect to the entire conversation what we are having today, sir. And of course, the networking. This is also one thing which I really want to share with all our audiences, that he is always accessible if you're reaching out to him with the right purpose, and is always helpful. Thank you so much for today as well, being there
Thank
amongst
you.
our speaking with all these students. Now, may I please request the president of the university, Professor P.M. Odani, sir, if he may kindly, because he's there with us in the conversation, and it was very thoughtful of him to be a part of this conversation. He was, in fact, very much looking forward to be in conversation with Ashok Ramachandran, sir. Sir, if you want to share across your views on this.
At the outset, Ashok Ramachandran ji, thank you very much for sparing your valuable time. And I was listening to your story The way you have started your journey from SRM college and then you had a gap of 1.5 years, moved to Australia, had a struggle time, first job at Vietnam, moved to Malaysia and then back to country. So Indian youth, everybody knows they are made about what is happening in Bollywood and cricket, and we have great role model, Amitabh Bachchan and Sachin Tendulkar. Why they have reached to this height? Because of their humbleness, their caring nature, their integrity. Nobody can doubt their integrity, loyalty, whatever they do. And these are the role model. But still, same thing is to be told again and again to the students so that memory is refreshed again and again. Definitely, change will happen because new education policy is drafted and is implemented by cabinet also, and now
Correct.
thing will change. A tight compartment which we had right now, engineering and then sciences and humanities and liberal education were in different compartment. Now at least at horizontal level, if at core level, artificial intelligence, business, economics, entrepreneurship, if they are carefully uh, taught in the colleges and schools, probably whatever we want, it can happen. So thank you very much. Definitely our faculty member who attended session, student who attended session, definitely they will be benefited. Learning, say, we are young university, Vivekananda Global University, young university, started in 2012. But then also we have many milestones achieved. We are taking entrepreneurship very seriously. Repeatedly, we are deputing our young faculty for the Niti Aayog campuses, other campuses for learning skills and imparting same thing. And even Niti Aayog has given us a grant to establish a Atal Community Innovation Center and doing a very good job. And few departments are doing very well. We have a global commerce and entrepreneur center. Management people are doing well. Few departments are not up to that level, being a university. But still, we have certain limitations within our resources. That is why we are inviting experts like you and sharing their expertise, and we are learning from each and everybody. Again, my compliment to you. Still, you are 15 years ahead, and definitely you will reach many more heights. And in beginning, I have not told you, in my personal life, I am greatly influenced by the leaders like Vikram Sarabhai. And when I joined ISRO in '84, the URA was the first person who had energized the entire community, ISRO community. So we have a leader in each and every field, be it Bollywood, Hollywood, cricket, industry, and things are not easy also. The story of a Kishore Biani, Big Bazaar trend, you must be aware. 6 months back, the asset was 40,000 crore, today is 10,000 crore only. And nobody can challenge his capability or knowledge about retail management. He's godfather of retail management. But there are certain circumstances, certain decisions you take in arrogance, you neglect certain peripheral issues, and you end up in your trouble and create your own grave. So humility, integrity, loyalty, these are the lessons. And definitely student and faculty, everybody need to have a value for the money and value for time. If these two things are kept in mind, and definitely there will be no barrier, everybody can march it. So thank you very much for sparing your time. Again, we'll interact, and this is the opportunity because of COVID-19. Bad things are happening, but good things are also happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ji. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adani sir, for contributing to the entire conversation, and of course, putting across your views as well. And again, here I would like to formally put across the vote of thanks to Ashok Ramachandran sir. Once again, thank you so much for being with us, sharing your views, and making it a very very bright session for everyone, and enriching, of course, for everyone in the audiences. I'm sure whosoever would have tuned in, and whosoever, because it's there on YouTube, whosoever will be watching it must definitely be able to get in something for the life ahead. And that's what is the beauty. You learn from experiences and you learn from great conversations, and that's where they say that great conversations can always redirect the change of positivity in any individual. Thank you for all the audiences, to all the audiences for tuning in. Thank you so much again, Ashok Ramachandran sir, for being with us on this show. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin. And if anyone wants to connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, they can follow me on Ash Ramachandran or Ashok Ramachandran. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our viewers for tuning in and stay with Vivekananda Global University virtual learning platform. We have a lot more wonderful shows and a lot more wonderful, intuitive and illustrative speakers and experts coming in, sharing their opinion up live and candid and benefiting you all. I'll walk towards new learning in life. Thank you. Signing off.